This morning we are starting the video session with a very important conversation, a conversation that is very paramount to the industry generally, an educative one. It's a conversation that has to be had and has to be listened to by anyone who wants to make any move into this industry or anything. And to have this conversation and this panel with me, we have speakers who have done this, like who do this, and who we can say are running a profitable animation studio. As the title is, running a profitable animation studio. I'm going to begin to call them up to join me, and as I call them, please put your hands together for them. You don't need to be listening. Many of them, they've done this for a long period of time. They didn't start yesterday. So they know what they're saying when they say things here. So I'll begin by inviting Richard Bubo, the CEO of RENDACON. Sit anywhere. Next is Mbotidem Johnson, CEO of Business and then Mr. Alao Sapolaji. Welcome, sirs. Who is who? Alright, so I'll go straight ahead into the conversation. But before we go into the serious questions, I would love to have my panelists, in a nutshell, say how you got into this whole animation thing, and is it something you always wanted, like as a little boy, but Providence just grew into it and you started on it? Let me start from Mr. Jameson.
Hello everyone, thank you for the opportunity. I think my own journey started as my desire to just have one goal. I wanted to work in Disney. And I think that's what pushed me into trying to go to school. First of all, took the first risk of going to Nigerian university. Everyone in my family went to UNAC. I refused to do that. Then decided I wanted to school outside. So I think that journey of trying to get to this very good school I always desired, I wanted to go to Full Sail. And they used to send me brochures every year when I was trying to raise money for school. So at some point I started going through the brochures and started getting curious. I think that was the time when there was the internet boom and could go to cyber cafe. And I think one thing led to another. I started practicing and I just started to prepare myself rather than wait to get to school, so I'm over prepared. And I think I kept on preparing until the next time I was preparing so much. I started doing work in Nigeria. I started getting little jobs there. Just in a sense, I'm just keeping myself busy. And I realized what I was doing was increasing. So I started to get one friend, let's work together, and next thing I just realized I've built my skills so high of a level to now go to school. To didn't make any sense anymore. So at that point I just said, so I jumped my dream of working in Disney and just think of something much more bigger and just build a studio, build something else.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we all had the same dream of schooling outside and working for Disney. Some got closer than some. My good friend Ayo started in the 90s. I wanted to have our own company, animation company, and it all works. We were just kids fresh out of secondary school, and we had a couple of benefactors, the fathers of some of our friends, Mr. Obi and a couple of them. And they hosted us on weekends and weekdays, and all we did was draw, write, design. I mean, the full works. I used to get brochures too from the Joe Hubert School of Art and Cinematic Animation in New Jersey. That was my dream school too, because I was more of a stills and 2D, penciling and inking, and I was a writer back then. Now he does everything. So, of course, these things happen. You don't get to go to Baker's, you get to go to Yamate Academy, study finance instead. So that was what I did. And midway, like in my first year into general arts in Yamate, the guy who led our studio then, Renda, we still want the same studio, IC studios to date, landed us a gig with Malaway Studios, where we were contracted to do Labada Surinary animation music video. And I think it was the first, as far as history you can tell, in Nigeria, where we had a challenge of doing a full-fledged animation studio with animated music video. Of course, we didn't complete the full. We had to load it with a lot of live action after we spent months laboring trying to get things done. But it was my first experience. I was a teenager. We were sweating in the studio in that circle, trying to get those frames going. And at the end of the day, we did the most we could. So that was my very early, entry experience into animation as well. Of course, through the years, we did other things, but that's the first time.
A lot of nostalgic. Let's see how you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Richard is my name. I stumbled on animation by accident. So, like anything. So, when I was a kid, when I was a child, when I was maybe 3, 4, 5, I used to sketch. I wasn't very good at drawing. So, but my parents saw my passion in it. And when they used to ask me back then what I was doing in the future, I used to think I was becoming a pilot. But chance to have it, I went on to study chemical engineering at the University of Claremont. And I had a friend who used to work in Cyber Cafe. And my chance, we just met at another friend's house. And he downloaded the software called Mine. I just saw the software and told him about that. This is the software called Mine. We used it to make films and all that. That was our moment. So just by complete accident. And I just found interest in it and just started pushing. So next weekend, I went to Cyber Cafe, downloaded the software. It was then shown on the software back then. That was in 2006, I think. And then, to personal interest, I saved up, bought my first laptop with my savings for my internship. And then I installed the software on my own laptop and I started training. So I'm mostly a self-taught person. Then that's how I found myself.
What I'm hearing here is obviously the fact that you've been doing this for a long time. Like you mentioned in the 90s, when you guys were so young. And I'm gonna put these questions to three of you also, one after the other. What are the 3 top factors in the journey of your animation studio that you would say has contributed the most to your successes? Okay, we'll start with you. 3 top factors that if you look back, you say, okay, this thing, that thing, and this other thing has been the major, biggest contribution to the success.
What if there are 6 top factors?
I know they might have been, there might be 10. There might be 10, but because I don't want, I'm just trying to limit the time.
Yeah, I think maybe one, have a goal.
Okay.
Have a goal, because sometimes as creatives, you have a goal that you can review every time. Always go back to the drawing board to review your goals. You want to do your monthly, like, am I making any progress? Should I tilt towards this side? Should I change? You have a goal. Secondly, go with people. It's very important. You have to go with people. It makes the journey interesting, because it is a journey, especially in our side where we are doing businesses without any support. So go with people that are passionate, have the same vision, and people that have a long-term perspective. They want to achieve something, not just now. Yeah. I think the third thing is share. Whatever you share with the next set of people that are
Within your team or even
outside the team. Share, like always put out stuff that can help the next set of generation or next creatives to not make the same mistakes, because you're bound to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you know, that perspective, it gives you that perspective of sharing, makes you understand that the industry is bigger than you, and the better it becomes bigger quickly, it benefits for you. So share whatever you learn, whatever. There are no secrets in my industry. You can never be any secrets. I remember them trying to learn from some people. Then I was still, I think, when you mentioned that, but I just remember my first studio. Me and my wife worked in the first animation studio.
Junior was on that team.
Yeah, Junior, the same team. Then because when you said Holloway, I think I heard that name so many times when I was in that studio.
I mean, Junior animated a little, but Tunji was more of a playing Oga.
Yeah, he always like the need to control and manage the group.
But it was a plug. It was the one that really knew who all the way and got all of us together. So kudos to him.
I think he was really one of the first people that pushed me. You know, I used to sleep over at his crib, you know, day and night, just learning. And there were so many creative people there, and the aspect of sharing was a problem because some people always wanted to be on top. But you know, when I look at it now, most of them have left because what they were holding on to is now extinct. You know, whatever you learned last year, December, it's good to go because technology is moving too fast.
Very important.
Yeah, it's moving too fast. You can't hold on to it for too long. I knew people that were that student that started with 3DX Max 1. They had so much knowledge, but to share was a problem. Eventually, we got to the home of where the information was out. That's why I said there's nothing that is a secret in the industry.
I mean, he said it all, but I'll just build on a couple of stuff he said. Having a goal, I can go for days. About having a goal, and what's important in those kind of goals is to have a goal for dough and have a goal for show. And I mean, for dough, easily means that you need to know where your easily pins are. Exactly. You need to look at your low-hanging fruits. You need to have a strategy to say, hey, I'm a challenger brand right now. I am nothing in the industry, so I will not mind taking scraps, inputs, and I will not mind doing it once more until I build my portfolio. So a challenger brand working for a challenging brand might not be the biggest, it might not be the biggest assignment. But sometimes you scale because you help a lot. Funding helps. For sure, because you are a creative person and you have a dream, you have some sort of master plan, some project that you're building and you're working on and you're sweating on and you're building. It will be a future length stuff, be a short, anything. It could be stills, it could be 2D, it could be books, it could be graphic novel, whatever it is, whatever form it's going to manifest in, you have that one that you're doing that you know that, hey, by the time this one comes out, this will year out. So I think so this is building goals to say, hey, you need to have that to come. Because if you're all about the money, you get the money eventually, but then again, you stand for nothing. And if you're all about I'm the dopest out here, ain't nobody touch you. You just be dope in your corner as a bag of kill. So it's about that.
Nice perspective.
Also about people, I cannot emphasize that people like minds, people who share the same point of view, people who are, I mean, people come and go, but you find a few stayers who really believe in this stuff and who really want to do it like on that midnight and issue and go all out. So that is equally important.
Okay, just to add to what you said, I made a very good point in the presentation just before this one about making sure that you pick people who have something to lose as well. So whenever I work on the project or idea, you make sure that people also have invested in this, almost as well, being or something like that. That's really helpful. So one of that thing I just want to add to what MBA has said is that we also do that with work process. We try to be proud of what you're doing and believe in your own work too. I'm not trying to confuse it with arrogance. You need to also be objective and open-minded enough to ask people. So, personally, I listen to people. So, I'm a creative, but that doesn't mean I'm blind to people's opinions, questions. I'm trying to attain the next person inside me. So, if the content I'm making is for them, I also have to take input from them, work on it. I listen. I'm a very good person to report. It helps me to do my work neutrally and objectively. And also, one other thing that also works is to be us. I see a lot of creatives trying to, for example, do manga, which is not exactly African. So you can, introduce some elements from that into the work, but I feel what I've helped us do is be proud of our own heritage, our own identity, and then showcase it to an international level, to the standard that is done out there in Disney and so on. So that way we don't try to be somebody else, but sell our content.
Yeah, so while you are open to contributions of people saying, oh, this is doing this way, because I'm going to have you build on that, on your progress with projects. And so if you're working on stuff, and where do you draw the line between critics of a work in progress and say, oh, you would have done it that way? Because I know a lot of creative, especially in this animation, used to have a lot of people, you share a teaser and someone is like, you would have done that. How much do you take from that, and how much do you go, okay, no, you're not entertaining that?
I think when it comes to people making critiques or contributions or anything, I think I'm open to it. I think my focus as studio owner is to always finish something, no matter how good or bad it is. I think reason why, because I think throughout the whole journey of building our studio, so to say, we celebrated 10 years this year. That's 10 years on document, it's more than 10 years. I think the mistake we made was that we always wanted to take critics and people's advice and also improve on what we wanted to do without finishing what we were doing. So I think there's a room for that, but the end point is finish something. Finish something. So we stay too long brewing something. That's why I think maybe like it's been 5 years that we've been really out there as a studio, and people have always been wondering where have we been, because we were doing that, trying to build something, take advice, improve on it, and it's too long. So I think as long as you finish it, you always see a better way to improve it.
Right.
There's always going to be a better way. Even some people look at Marvel movie and say it can be better.
Of course, so even a Disney movie can be better. I like that.
Everybody always sees something that they can always add to it because it's good and always improve on it. People tend to always feel they can contribute, that they want to be part of it. So there's nothing wrong as long as we can finish it. Let's get to the finishing line, then we can improve on it.
That's why it's a very important pragmatic step.
Because I remember then when I watched Iron Man 1, I was like, man, this is just the best thing. Then by the time I think it was last year, I said I wanted to watch all the Iron Man again. And I went to Iron Man, I was like, what is this? But you could see the growth, improvement, because they finished it. By the time they got to Iron Man 3, it was just spectacular, do you get? So I just felt like, always finish something, nevertheless, never keep it too long. Take the input from people, but always get to the finish line and take what you can and run with it. You can't take everything. Take what you can and run with it. Just keep going and keep pushing it.
Always finish.
Yeah, always finish.
Very important, because in this industry you see a lot of projects start and they talk about it 5 years down the line and we're still asking where is it, and this your contribution tells us that the most important thing is have a finished it. Do it, just get it out there. Now I want to ask you, in the growth and success, and let's get back to profitability, because you've made a very important point of the dough and the show, and I think the dough is something we like to talk more on here. In the sense of profitability, which keeps your business operational day-to-day, you pay salary, next month too, you know that there's something that will come and you pay salary. Now, you make a lot of incursion into the global international partnerships, working with even all of us here. We have this international connections and national recognitions, national partnerships and collaborations. Do you think that those foreign connections and partnerships and clientele and all that have become like the most important revenue source, overclouding whatever used to be?
Not necessarily. They serve their purpose, but they're not everything. I think it's going back to his point about doing it for long.
Yeah.
Storytelling that connects people. People say that, GDP is low, or that our dollar rate is bad because we don't produce anything so that we can compete, our economy can compete. And then there's a counter argument about the fact that all these guys, DSTV, MTN, Airtel, all come to Nigeria because of our population as well. So there's something about the numbers. That means something about the economy that's interesting to, like, oh, you have a captive audience, you have 200 million people waiting to collect everything you sell to them. Alright? Maybe not all of that, but of course you can target the market. That means you can tailor something and sell it to them. Then that should be our primary concern. That should be our primary source. Any other thing from out there is Jara or as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you see people who have created a whole series on Coco Melon for kids. And I mean, they are very funny animation, they are not well detailed, but it's good song, there's good relatable content for their market, and their kids just binge it from season 1 to 6 and all of that. Don't you want to have a replicate of that in Nigeria? Our folk songs and our mannerisms and all of these things, taught in our own way, maybe prophecy to animals and all of that, for our kids, serialized. I'm sure people who can pay $4,000 for Netflix subscription would love that now.
So even from a local perspective, there is still a booming source of revenue.
Exactly, it's back to his point about the fact that you need to look for where that gap is locally and build it and scale from there. Any other thing from outside there could be grants, could be partnerships, could be funding. Yeah, it's just accessible.
I'm going to ask you I'm going to follow up on this and ask you because you have a really deep play into the funding and advertising world. Now, the animation industry, how do you see it from a branding and marketing perspective? What can be done better?
Of course, a lot can be done better. Right now, the industry is seen as just support. End frames, opening sequences. Oh, we need to do a little magic on a little product. Oh, we need to add some 2D to live action. Again, oh, we need the product to dance. Again, that is what it's all about now. It's very hard to sell a full length, maybe 90 and 60 animation spot, animated spots to the client and tell them that, oh, this might not be like a 2-week or 3-week thing like your live action series spot. It might take a while and they'll be like, my promo is running, I need to do something. So the mind has been abused to think that motion graphics is animation. So motion graphics guy are cleaning out with using templates and making letters move and razzle dazzle and they say, oh, it's animation. We'd rather go for animation. They don't mean animation, we need motion graphics. So there's that education that needs to be done. That, hey, when you see right now, there's something going on in the UK and the US, holiday campaigns, all these stores, big stores, Macy's, Nichols, and they always, it's like a season, they do big ad campaigns. Same thing for February in the US, Super Bowl, it's like the biggest, exactly, aperture for advertising. You realize that studios have been working since February or January of the previous year, building stuff, crazy cool stuff that would, launch at the end of that year. We don't have that discipline in Nigeria. There's a quick reporting, quick promo, then quickly, clean house mentality, which is still the armor mentality. That is our problem. So yeah, a lot of work has to be done. We need to let them know that, hey, feature animation is different from just having something at the end of your live action spot. It's a continuous.
Beautiful. I'm going to get to you with you guys do a lot of things. You build a lot of next generation human capacity. From your experience, how has that contributed to not just your studio's successes but the industry at large?
Running a good training sometime started back in 2013, I think, a very good training. And we've managed to train some of the people who are going to I don't want to mention names, I don't start but a lot of people have started as training from us. Some started as interns. At least half of the main people that the admission was just basically like either even as intern or the past. So training has really been very impactful in the industry. It has helped people discover what is possible. But there were also a number of mistakes people also found from the ground up to practice. So one of them, which I was just touching on, is the fact that if someone finishes training and they're able to discover the profitable side of it, you start to wonder and then switch on to the next thing and it's so over time to try to also expand training and quality. For example, till recently we now discovered that training alone is not sufficient. What follows is more important, which is mentorship. Send them live briefs so they can test their hands on get their team and different things. So these are things we are building over time to support the training so that we do that training get placement
And I want to assume it also adds to your bottom line.
Oh yes, it's training for us also helps us to augment our bottom line. Then it helps us to also give back. We do free seminars and workshops. So that because it also creates awareness about the industry, opportunities that are there. And it's also a way also for us to contribute and build a community so that people know that we're not just talking about it, we're also responsible socially to build the community of because I'm not trying to training in general to also creates we're also building industry. And then when we also have need, sometimes the first place we look to is people that we train. Then second we look at
Talking about building industries, communities, MB is an important person to talk about the state of the animation industry and the community of it, the networking, the communication within the industry. I know you do a lot of work in that aspect. Now, can you tell us how you feel that the growth of the industry and community organizations has so far added to profitability of individual studios and how it can be better?
I think because I was part of the people that started Animation Nigeria, the concern was to see how we can expand and have that network. I'm coming from a background where people don't share, and it's important that it's collaboration in the industry. And I noticed there's not so much collaboration in the industry. The whole idea of kicking off Animation Nigeria was to try to let people loosen up a little bit. Try and interact with your other industry practitioner. Try and interact, find some other things. And start conversations. It's not always when you see the next studio, these are competitors. These are can't talk. So I think it's since we started, there's been some conversations that has led to more studios coming out, people interacting. I remember when I just gone to Annecy, to Discord, we've gone to some marketplaces and coming back, you just tell some people this is what's happening, and people, they make that decision to move, like Dami that runs in studio, she has been able to move out from just, try and just make, because you don't want to sound like as if you found a secret and you can't tell anybody. Because, like I said, my perspective is that as long as most studios can go faster, it's better for me. So I think the community is expanding. I think one thing that I've just noticed is that we have a lot of creative people, not business people. Creative people are running studios. It's difficult because I was in that same box. Like my whole goal was to work
As a creative
as a creative person. That's what I wanted to do. Switching and letting go of all what I had built to just focus on business, which is very important. It was hard at some point. We need more people in that space. So when you talk about profitability, we need people that are business minded, not just only creative, but really business minded. So I think what we have in our industry, we have a lot of creative people, and those creative people fall into just one specific box in a company, which is production. Running the affairs of the studio and all that. But when it comes to the business now, I think that's where there's a problem. Because when we have more people that think of the business itself, they'll understand that networking is important. Those people understand that networking is important. Reaching out to Richard and asking, what do you need for us? We can serve you. We reached out to a studio in Brazil because we wanted to do a project, and they gave us a bill. And my business guy said, maybe we made the conversation wrong. Maybe we should tell them not to work for you.
Yeah.
It's the money that you are sending to work. It looks like the kind of money we are looking for. So when you have conversations like that, I tell Richard I want to do something, and Richard tells me, maybe okay, this thing is going to cost 10 million. And maybe I was looking for it for 2 million. Maybe I should just change the conversation. If you have anything for 2 million, I'll send it my way.
Yeah.
That's why it is necessary. Like what he mentioned, you should not be afraid to take what the small fruits that are hanging from a tree. It's only a business person that would think like that. It's not just I'm hustling. It's a business person that would think, knowing that it's necessary to keep the ship running. Sometimes some people will come to me, an individual, like something happened this year, someone came to me like, I want to do one small candle animation, blah 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 blah. When the person said, I said, what's your budget? The person said 50K. I said, bring it. We did it. The person that was in did it in like 2 hours, finished it. When he came inside, that's the only thing I understand. It's business.
We do business.
Someone else will say, why are you doing it for 50K? It's like, this guy is an individual.
Yeah.
He's trying to interact with our industry, serve him. He'll go and tell the next person. And
more of it might
more of it, because some people always ask me, like, I had a conversation with our legal firm, and the woman kept on, like 3 years ago, she kept on asking me, how do you get business? And I think she just nailed my head that day. Just say, see, even though it's puff, you're doing this business, so you have to start making money. Stop trying to tell me all these creative things that we need a team of these. Just give all this thing. All I just want to let you have to make money. And he pushed me to that space to just stop talking creatively. Just think of the money. And just think. There's so many creative people. You can hire more creatives to work. Let someone think about the money. And I just started to start thinking in that box. Okay, what can we get for? How can we sustain? How can we expand? How can we increase? We go down a path of saying we want to keep improving the quality of the work. We're just not making any money. How can we increase the quality of the work? That's why I said that if you finish something, that is the quality you have at that point.
Yes.
Where can you serve with that quality? It might not be the orange VFX quality, it might not be the spoof quality anymore. There is some clients that you can serve
at that level.
At that point in time. So I think I think the community is getting to that point where we have too many creative, we need business people.
You made quite a very important point that I was going to ask each person to talk about how you blend in with the creative and the business side, but you quite just laid it out and finish work for that in that angle.
I don't think I've said everything. Like it's I don't think I've even touched it. When I say I'm like now my only responsibility now in the studio is because I'm very good in compositing.
Yeah.
So I focus on that. But now I have to let it go. Like this December we are on a project. I had to just let it go. Let me just be focused on the business, the strategy. You know, we don't have this kind of conversations anymore when we're in the creative. Everybody's talking about the software, the plugin, and I'm like,
Nobody is talking about where the
that
money
is,
has come
I'm not saying
from.
those conversations shouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
that's with the creative team from a company or a group of people. What are the conversations that are happening when it comes to money? How are you making the money inflow? What are you guys doing? You know, like my friend Tunde comes around sometimes to our studio, Black Eye Studio, and he asks me, okay, what can I do? You know, I want to expand. I want to, you know, what steps can I make?
Yeah.
Because obviously we just took baby steps
Yeah.
to get to where we are. So what steps can I make? I said, okay, try this and try this. Whatever I'm telling you might not work for you, but try this.
Yeah.
What do you see that you can improve on whatever we're telling you, improve on that. You know, those conversations are leading to making money, not just making great content.
Yeah.
You know, not just making great content. Disney makes great content. Netflix makes great content. But who is making money? That's the conclusion. You know, it's who is making money. Yes, everybody's making great content. You know, and it's so strange, like the trend of Netflix. Netflix has been hiring small studios to make great content, while Disney is still on that making our own great content. But they found it's just we want to make.
They just found a way around it,
You know,
and like,
and so I think when we have business people in the room, or we open up our studios or our mindsets to having people that are not in our industry, so to say. You know, sometimes I still have that kind of mentality. You know, you can't bring someone that is just a business development person that has not been involved in animation, does not know what the color is, does not know. But the person is just only coming with one perspective. We need to make money. So what exactly can we shift around to make that happen?
very important. I know we have questions in the audience. I'm going to allow the questions to start coming, so we can take as much as possible. Questions?
Okay, my question will go to Abolaji Alonso. I know you are in the brand marketing space, and I know you've co-run a advert agency for like 10 years now, if I'm not wrong. And one of the things I've seen is that advert agencies are very, very profitable. They are very, very profitable. You see many of them doing end of year parties. They pay their workers very well. And you know, the funny thing is that you have been stealing most of the guys, you know, from our side to come and work for you, you know.
Back to his point about when they see something more profitable.
So my question is this: what do you think is making advert agencies that profitable? And how do you think animation studios can copy that maybe structure or model? I don't know, maybe it's the structure or the model. Or what do you guys have that makes it so efficient? And I think animation studios can also copy to also be able to pay that kind of salary that you're giving out.
I think agencies are lucky to be like a melting pot for engineering pop culture. And agencies steal from everywhere. From high arts, fine arts, low arts, pop culture, street arts, animation, feature films. They take from everywhere just to make something that looks like something that would sell the brand. So anybody that could work in an ad agency, any smart person, any creative person will thrive in an ad agency. Because you're just listening to what's out there and then you're interpreting it for your brand and you're just using it to sell something. So that is why we've had animators like Kanso, Bolu, Free Fork Out, was the staff of the agency for like 5 years. We've had people who've done cool stuff. Writers who've gone on to write for Netflix and Hollywood, and directors who are time painters and all of that. So yeah, all skill sets are welcome. But to try and answer your question directly, is that there's been the traditional structure that was started from Madison Avenue in the 60s. Nigeria adopted in the 80s and has been like a structure for ad agencies around the world for a time now, for a while time now. And that structure is a planning department which is in charge of strategy and listening and going to sniff out what is out there. There's a creative department which does all the art direction, copywriting, and creating the content. Then there's a client service department sat and looked at where's the money? Where's the money coming from? How do we get it? Of course, you can scale beyond that. You freelances for us for production units, you can have an digital animation unit, you can have all of those other things, PR, public relations, digital capacity, you can build all of this, elevations vertically, horizontally rather. Yeah. But the core is the creative unit and the client service unit, and they must be complementary, they must be very strong. You must have somebody who's had some experience in the weather of the client side, has been branding his work in Guinness for years, and he can open doors. He can make cold calls, they will listen to him. He has a golf club membership or a club, he knows people. You can be on your board or you can be on your day-to-day. You need that kind of person. Because most of us in this room, I dare say we are all creative people. And creative people don't wake up thinking about the dollar sign. You think about the concept first. I have this great idea, oh shit, this is going to change the world. It will not change the world if the money tax doesn't come in. You get. So we need those guys. They might be slimy, they might not spend more than 2 years, and you might have to change them frequently. They're hard, but you need those guys to complement what you do, because they are the ones that will say, guys, I know we want to buy this big machine, but we can't afford it now. Let's scale down and use what we have now. I know you want to hire that big boy who think can turn the company around, but let's hire smaller guys, 5 smaller guys, and train them. They will be able to do the work in 2 years. We'll show you what the plan is, and you'll be able to. So if I may go into practical examples, that's exactly what we did with Noaza. Larry at the time, I started Noaza when he left TVWA, and it was a small agency. About 2 years into it, I joined him from TTV, and we were broke. We had nothing really. It was what I mentioned earlier about if you know that you're a challenger brand, you need to look for that challenge to brands to work for. We took everything. If you hear a Paga jingle on the radio, it's our work. If you hear Power Pasta, it's our work. If you hear, Galatinkis, it's our jingle, it's our work. We did everything. Most of these things we didn't have big telcos, MTN, Airtel, who pay you millions of naira retainer every month. We couldn't muster that kind of strength. We're very lean team, but we did what we did. And then back to his point about having a strategy and ensuring that it's for local. What we did differently was that we ensured that our ethos was always about storytelling, local storytelling, Nigeria, Tiwa, that kind of raw stuff that, it was borrowing the strategy from India really, because India turned the advertising around when people like a guy called Pishpant, they dumped what the West was doing, and they started doing all their red dots, all their really traditional stuff, and it started from advertising and even went into the Bollywood industry and all of that. So it was a clear case of we have untold stories. Why can't brands tell them? Why can't we tell them? So, of course, 4 or 5 years into it, a couple of brands noticed what Indomie, fairly good retainer business. You know what retainers do. You ensure that you can pay your people monthly, and you can search for newer businesses with that. And gradually, they notice this in the industry. We go and buy it from peaches again. It's a very competitive industry. Animation can even be quite forgiving because you can have pet projects that you create yourself, you brief yourself, and then you present and you get a partner. In advertising, you have to be invited to the C-suites to come and present to some people who might like it or who might not like it. Exactly. So you have to pitch a lot, we pitched a lot. Finally, we got some of the big brands, big accounts, and
I'm going to follow up on something you said earlier about brands not believing in this feature film, feature animation thing, that they just want that little something that happened in 2 weeks or so. And I was thinking, okay, could there be a possibility of beginning to introduce them to the proper animation films, like animation studios, via backdoors like brand placements? So if we have an animation film project coming, and can we begin to explore getting these brands to say, oh, there's this animation that's coming, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and AC, you can have your brand as a brand, placed in some of the film itself, and you use that to begin to introduce them to the whole world of films, animation films. How could that work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect strategy as far as media placement is concerned. In that, if you take a billboard, you take it for 3 months and time will lapse. If you feature your products in feature length animation or in a short, that clips will be around forever. The Coca-Cola bottle in a Spider-Man movie is there forever. Nobody will cover that again, so you have it. So, but then again, it goes back to the myopia of some of the people that are on the client side and the battle that, okay, so it's been a battle for some of us who believe that African storytelling should take the forefront and should tell our own stories. That's one battle that it's a day to day. Constantly in meetings trying to tell people that, hey, let's tell this kind of stories. Let's not just do jingles, or let's not just, do talking heads like you would want there. So that's one battle. Another battle would now be that, let's educate them in the arts and let them know that, animation could give you. If you go back Nigerian history and remember the animations we used to see on the NTA as a then they look hard, I had Angel Fatigue.
Yeah.
To me, you realize that some of those things are all done by foreign studios. They were all done by foreign studios. They were like global campaigns that were co-opted and just put our own thing on it. Okay? It's not been our practice. We're like a 2 million kind of thing. It's very tough. So yeah, I buy the idea of telling them that, hey, animations are here to stay. Could take a slot in it, which is indirect. It's not like, it's all about you, but if your brand features in it, it means the aperture will be open for longer and the brand will be there, especially when the intercept.
Because I see a possibility of it, depending on how big the brands are, it could actually fund the production.
Definitely. Yeah, that's another thing that is tough. For another example, not to be vainglorious, would be something we created for Airtel called the ELOs. And people like that family, we use them to sell the Coca products. To get these guys to commit to a series where we build on this and make something for it, it's tough because it might not be their focus. Products are their responses to industry dynamics. What is selling now might not sell in a few months. Another competitor might just create another product and it will change. So they seldom commit to long-term stuff. It's really tough. That's why these guys on Instagram are co-ambassadors and the hinting now.
Yeah.
They have a captive audience, they are popular, they are begging to give them their money so that they can sell their product. So nobody wants to really plan and do something long term, which is why we're here, which is the tough work we all have to face.
Thank you so okay, just one last question. Thank you, sir.
My name is Usas. The question I have is actually what I've been thinking for a while. Is there any legal or a process in which one can use to, like for instance, let me give a scenario. You're in a production with a studio, a brand, let me say maybe an agency, like what Mr. Gradually what he works with, and an animation studio, you do a project, and because you are like, it's maybe like the third party, so your money is hanging somewhere, you have finished projects, so, and maybe your agency have not been paid to. So is it like the agency, because I discovered that I work with agency most of the time. The agency tell me that the money will arrive in 1 month or 90 days, so I should wait. So I'm like, wait, why did I sign the contract and you're telling me that I'll collect half and so on? Also, all of a sudden, you're switching to I'll collect my money in 90 days, 60 days, and 1 month and stuff like that. So is it like the legal stuff that one can do, or it's just how do you handle this kind of situation?
We're all in this boat. Let me paint you, and it's our governing body, APCON and Chibuye, they're trying to sign some legal documents.
Yes, there's a law now that they're trying to
Exactly.
play out.
So they're trying to sign it now in 2021 or 22. That's brands can't do that anymore. Now, let me tell you how tough it's been for our industry, and it trickles down to suppliers and vendors and all the production arms that work. Is that the agency gets signed on and you get signed to. You receive a retainer monthly. Sometimes it does not come monthly. Most times it's like 3 months later. Or you have a project and you're not there, so now you're getting your money piecemeal, and there's a 90-day plus payment time, which means that even if the client's project is 100 million, the agency goes to the bank to borrow 100 million to shoot the TV spot for the client before they get paid. That's what it is. Of course, they will sign the PO. Of course, they'll show you that the document is ready. But because they know the time value of money, they do not give you that money on the spot. You have to go and borrow with some interest on it to carry out their project, and then wait the 90 days for them to pay you. Now you are part of that project because you did the end frame animation, or you did the title sequence with that, which is just like 2% out of the entire thing. And because of hunger, you are the one that is knocking on the agency's door every day. Guy, pay me, pay me. Meanwhile, this man has gone to the bank, to expand his credit facility, to pay for the project. He has staff that is paying monthly at the same time. You get, and then the vendor or the supplier or the animator doesn't understand that this is the boat you are in. So it's not obtainable in most countries. It is blue murder as far as I'm concerned. You get, so even if you get to fund projects for your clients, it shouldn't be more than a month. You get, and there should be some understanding. So what agencies do is that if they get 3 months payment time, they will put a buffer and tell their supplier 6 months or 4 months, because who knows when the check will clear? Who knows when it will come in? So it's that trickle down that you feel. It's not because somebody's wicked or they want to keep your money. It's because of, there are cases where they get paid eventually and they chop people's money, and you still have to come and fight them or have your lawyer rights them. Yes, there are bad cases, but typically this is what happens. And the most generous clients you have there will give you 2 months, 60-day business day turnaround for you to pay, but most of them do not.
And this is
standard practice that is obtainable right now, unless this new document they have changing stuff. Most of the projects that you do, you have to fund it yourself and expect that you get paid back.
And it's 90 days after the project has been accepted.
In fact, the TV spot will be on air and will have been running already before the money comes in. That is the reality of the industry.
That's sad. I wanted to say something. Let me just add to that. Whenever when we start business, and you just keep aiming, I want to work with it. I want to work with now. I want to work with this one. When we always stumbled on these clients, it's just like, oh my God. And it comes with those kind of clients. They come with those kind of terms and decisions. So it's either you decide these are the kind of clients you want to work with, and you have the terms, and you can sustain your business during those periods, operations. Like what he's saying is very true. You have
the 90 days might come and your business doesn't exist anymore.
We have a retainership with a client also, and I'm telling the person, October, November, we never see. December is close. And they say, we put it in paper. They don't. We can't enforce our own dates that we put, but they will enforce their own on us. So, and we have to fund those projects ourselves. So the thing about it is that if you want to get into that kind of, this is what it is. I would say maybe this legal document can save the industry, but those are the terms. Or you just go for the small clients that will pay you 75% upfront, 25% on delivery, and it's small money, and you are fine.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for this big, quite a conversation. Thanks for coming. Thanks. Yeah, let's have a photograph.